Hello, and welcome back to my channel. We are doing another Trinkets to Sidequest today, and let me tell you, this is the most difficult one I have ever done. I'm just prefacing it. I had to think long and hard about what to do about this, and I came up with something good. Trinkets to Sidequest is where I take the trinkets in the player's handbook, all 100 of them, and I turn them into side quests or things that you can actually do with the party instead of just something that you roll at the beginning of the day and then forget about at the end of it. You know what I mean? So today we are doing a requested item, and not only is it a requested item, but it is requested from YouTube, which is really, really exciting. This is the first request that I've gotten from YouTube since posting these videos. And of course, it's number 29. It's number 29. A pair of old socks. A pair of dirty old socks. Damn it. Okay, fine. I was actually stalling on this one, I'm not gonna lie. I'd seen it previously and was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that, and I'm just gonna ignore it until it comes up. And of course, it came up. Yay. So, here's what I did. First of all, what are these socks? Because the trinket is it's typically not just a trinket or a little random thing. It's typically something, right? What are these socks? These socks are magical socks, okay? They're magical socks. They're made out of wool. They're very cozy. They're very nice. They're made of soft, I would imagine the softest wool that a person can make. And where I imagine this wool coming from is cloud sheep, sheep that cloud giants farm and take care of and herd, cloud sheeps that hop along clouds and eat clouds for sustenance and stuff like that. That's what I imagine these are made from, the most beautiful, most amazing, but they're old. They're really, really old, and they got a couple holes in them, but they're good quality socks. That's what I'm trying to put across. Okay, so these socks are magical. These socks fit every single foot. So they change sizes, just like a lot of armor. Whenever you get magical armor, it'll change size to fit the body that is attuned to it. It's the same concept. It'll change size to fit the body that it is being held by currently or putting on. So if any of your other player characters, say a gnome, holds the socks will change to gnome size. They won't be super big on the gnome. They'll change to the gnome size, right? But that's not the only thing these magical socks do. No. They are frostbite preventative. They have a magical enchantment in it that prevents your body from going down to the temperature that is required to get frostbite. Now, if you wanted to do something interesting and make it a little more difficult to give away these socks, or make it a little more interesting for these socks, you could also say that they have resistance to cold damage. So you have magical, warming, frostbite ridding socks. The problem isn't necessarily that these socks exist. The problem is who used to own these socks. Now again, with all of these, it's kind of up to you how these socks got into your player character's hand. It's up to the player character how these socks got into their hand. But these socks are actually the favorite socks of the Cloud Giant King or Duke or whatever you want to do, but the Cloud Giant royalty. So there's some cloud giant up in the clouds, ruling over the cloud giants, ruling over what they do, that loves this pair of socks. This is his favorite pair of socks. And he wears these socks constantly and loves them. Somehow, in a trip or a whatever, on a expedition to another country or something, these socks got taken from him, and now they've ended up in the hand of the player. Well, the Duke or the King is so in love with these socks, these magical socks, that he has sent people, scouts, cloud giant beholden scouts, to come down onto the land and find the socks. And that is where your players come in. Now, I imagine this happening at sometime where you can fight a cloud giant, or sometime where you can fight higher level assassins. So maybe like level, I don't know, 8, something like that, 9. So in my mind, this is a moment where your players have just accomplished something and are staying in at an inn, or staying at a friend's house, or are staying at their house. This is something where they have just done something of notoriety. They have just done something that made the paper, I guess you could say. Like, I know papers don't exist, but made the paper in an expression. And then they are settled down in a house or a place of comfort, a place where they might not take watches. You know what I mean? Like, they might be too drunk, you know, something along those lines, something along the relaxed, not taking watches kind of shit. And so what's going to happen is in the middle of the night, boom, 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 on the door, and whoever's the host of them, the tavern, you know, whatever, they're gonna answer the door, and they're gonna be like, we need to speak to the party. And he's gonna be like, it's a little late right now. And he's like, we need to speak to the party. You know what I mean? Like, he's gonna be like, we need to speak to the party, we need to speak to the... And hopefully, they somehow drag the party outside of the building that they are in. It's my personal preference, but if they're inside the building, I mean, I guess that's cool. I guess that's cool too. But my preference is to either catch them without their armor on, or catch them whenever they're drunk, or something like that. Something where an ambush is more likely to happen. And they are going to be ambushed. They're going to be ambushed by Cloud Giant affiliate assassins. I don't think it would necessarily be Cloud Giants. Maybe Goliaths. Maybe it would be some Goliath-y people, some half-giant people, you know, something like that. But I wouldn't necessarily see it being actual giants unless you're in the middle of the woods. And if you're in the middle of the woods, throw giants at them. Just throw the fucking giants at them. It's fun. So they stumble out of bed and they're like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Like, what do you want? And they're just like rip them into the street, and they're like, give it back. Give it back. And of course, the players are like, give what back? So that causes the fight to happen, is whenever they're like, I don't know what you want, I don't want to, they're just like, give it back, you know what you took from the Cloud Giants, give it back. And I'm like, what the fuck, we've never even been to the Cloud Giants, what are you talking about? We don't know anything about Cloud Giants, can we just settle this diplomatically? And they're like, no, you took something from our king, give it back. And so they attack, right? And I think I wouldn't give them a way to talk out of this attack. I think I would make them do a couple of turns of combat before you start you start throwing in some the king's possession, the king's knit, you could do the king's knit. You could do, I would, undergarments. You could do undergarments, because socks are considered undergarments. You could do, the king's, like, you know, you could start throwing in little hints, and it's not clicking. It's probably not going to click for them, because everyone rolls their trinket and then fucking forgets about their trinket. That's the point of this series, is because you forget about your trinket. So what I would actually do at that point is, once a couple of hints have started going out and memories have started to, PC memories have started to jog, I would start making the person who has the socks roll history checks. Now, it's totally dependent on you what you make the DC of the history check. I would personally make it something along the lines of 15, 16, depending on how buried those socks are in their frickin' thing. If they actually wear those socks a lot of the time, then maybe it's lesser. But if they just have the socks and they're buried in their knapsack or whatever, then it's more. You know what I mean? So eventually, the history roll, and you'd be like, you remember at some point in your life, you got a hold of these really, really nice socks. These really nice socks. And that's the only, and eventually I would suggest, if it still is not clicking, that they start saying the word sock. They start saying like, saying socks, like, give us back the socks. We want the socks. So that of course your players are like, this is about socks, but they're like special socks. So that's what I would recommend. And then once the players get it, the fight can end because they can be like, oh, you just want these fucking socks? And so, the players can explain to them, we just ended up with these socks. We have no idea what these socks are. Like, we don't know what these socks do. Or it can be a conversation of like, what are you going to give us for the socks? Because your players actually do know that these socks are magical, and your players actually do know that these socks have frost-resistant properties. Either way, negotiations can begin, or sorries can begin if you're in that kind of a party. Apologies can begin. And eventually they give the socks back to the Cloud Giants, because the Cloud Giants are like, these are the socks, we need the socks, right? Or the Cloud Giant counterpart. So in exchange for the socks, they can be rewarded monetarily with actual gold. I thought that was something that could happen, or that they could negotiate. I feel like the Cloud Giants would be, in my ideal scenario, the Cloud Giants would be understanding of the fact that this person doesn't even know what these socks are and doesn't even know who these socks belong to. And so maybe would offer to like have counsel with the Cloud Giant King when you travel to the Cloud Giants. If you ever travel to the Cloud Giants, like show this brooch, and you can have service with the Cloud Giant King, so the Cloud Giant King can thank you for finding his socks, and like all that kind of stuff. But they would get some kind of reward and compensation in hand for the socks. I originally think gold, but gold might be a little lame and might not be like what they're looking for. So maybe talking to the king. But yeah, that is what I came up with for a pair of old socks. It's the most exciting. I hope I did it proud. I hope I did it well, because man, that was, I had to think about that the whole damn week. I was like, what am I going to do about these socks? I was like telling my fiance, like, what am I going to do about these socks? And he's like, why do you keep talking about socks? And I'm like, I don't know what to do with these socks. And so we kind of brainstormed it together, but, I am just really, really grateful that somebody requested a trinket. These trinkets are super duper fun to do, but it's not fun to pick the trinket because there are just so many trinkets that I get like very lost in the trinkets, and it kind of kills my vibe. So if you would like to pick the next trinket for the next Trinket to Sidequest, I would be more than happy to take your recommendations. I will say that you can look back on my past trinkets and see all the trinkets that I have done. And some of them are in TikTok form as well, and in a long form format. Maybe I can share with you guys the Google Doc that I have of I highlight the trinkets that I've done before. Maybe we can do something. Maybe I can share that Google Doc in the bottom of all of these, so that we can, or in the doobly-doo of all of these, so that we can do that stuff. Anyways, I really do appreciate you guys being here. I really do appreciate this little dude for suggesting dirty socks. It was a great challenge, and it was a lot of fun to do. I will see you all next week with another video. I don't know what the video is going to be yet. I typically decide these on the day that I film them. But I am very, very happy to be here, and I'm happy to see you guys enjoying my videos. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. You are always welcome at my table, and I will see you in the next video. Okay. Toodaloo.